Hi everybody, welcome to the Rambling of the South Stands broadcast on Leeds TV on YouTube. I did a detailed periscope the other day just on my thoughts after the game and how superbly I thought Leeds performed, and I put that on my Twitter channel, so if you want to see that, just go and check that out. But this is kind of going to be more, hopefully, if I don't ramble on too much, excuse the pun, going to be a little bit more of a detailed analysis of what kind of went on. So first I'd like to talk about the actual place where I watched it. I watched it in Sydney, Australia at the minute. The time is 2:30 in the afternoon, and it's a little bit of a pain in the arse when you're trying to watch Leeds United, unfortunately. I was a season ticket holder, so it makes it all very difficult for me to actually get to the games, but we saw a wonderful opportunity to see it in a bar in a place called Cheers in Australia, which I'm sure some of the subscribers on this channel will have seen or been to. It's a superb bar, and the atmosphere was great, so I watched it there with a lot of good Australian people, which is fantastic because obviously we know how many expats are out here. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of talk about the game really and how I thought we were able to kind of get to another level. Now, it's not only the fact that Leeds we've obviously brought in the players and we've brought in this, that and the other, but now we're actually moving on to better things. We have Marcelo Bielsa in charge, who's a different pedigree of coach, and you could see that in yesterday's play. I mean, Leeds were just superb from the off. It wasn't just about intensity, aggression and assertiveness on the ball, it was all those three facets off the ball as well. Often on the ball was key for Leeds United. Stoke had time in possession sometimes, but the issue was Leeds were pressing them so high, we'd either go one man forward, the other one, even when it was pressing the goalkeeper. I thought the degree of technical specificity, as you will, that went into what Bielsa evidently analysed from the Stoke team was superb. Anytime Max Bauer had the ball, Alioski was on his toes. Anytime Shawcross or Martins Indy had the ball, you had Saiz pushing up along with Klitsch and Roof. So it was just a constant pressure game. Leeds were playing quite high up the field, but what was brilliant about what Leeds were doing was they were able to have cover in the necessary areas, so if Stoke did break, which rarely happened, Leeds were able to kind of cover that pretty well. But yeah, from start to finish, it was one of those games where you just knew that everything was going to go in Leeds' favour. I personally thought with the starting 11 that it wasn't going to be good enough, because I saw Stoke starting 11 and I thought, right, that is a lower league Premier League side. They brought in some championship quality in the form of Tommins, and on the other side they had James McLean, who I thought could be a massive issue. And then the bench as well was pretty strong for Stoke. You had the likes of Mamadou and Peter Crouch along with Darren Fletcher, who came onto a chorus of boos, which was fantastic. Yeah, so as I said, the crowd really drove Leeds on to something pretty special the other night over here for me anyway. But yeah, so getting into the game, when there's a few things that I'd like to talk about with regards to like each separate player, and I'm kind of going to go through that with a few match ratings as well. So the goalkeeper, Bailey Peacock-Farrell, I thought he had a great game. I thought he wasn't able to, it was very unfortunate with that last kind of ball where Crouch was challenged him in the air, and it was a bit difficult for him to actually get his full grip on it. But and he was quite lucky there as well. But it's very harsh to say that Bailey had a poor game, because alongside that he also made two really good saves from Crouch, and I think, what was the other one? It was the point blank save from the corner, wasn't it? So I thought he had a really good game. Ayling, once again, superb, Mr. Reliable. He was able to deal with James McLean, who is a very, very good championship player. And I base that not on the fact that he's played a lot of championship football before, but the kind of physicality and the aspects he brings. He's a direct winger. He's able to take a lot of people on with his pace, and his physicality is very good. And he also draws a lot of people into sort of kind of like argumentative games, a lot like Diego Costa, in the sense that he's able to beat you mentally and physically. So I thought Luke Ayling did terrifically well to marshal him out of the game, and not only that, he was able to stand him up, and McLean didn't really do anything apart from when he got the crossing for their goal. Moving on to Liam Cooper, I thought Cooper did really well. I'd probably give Ayling an 8 and Cooper a 9, to be honest. I think we need to see that more from Liam Cooper. We need to see that 46-game stint where Liam Cooper is consistently producing that level of performance. I think, including myself, I think the issue is with Liam Cooper, he doesn't provide that level of performance well enough, and I think that often enough, and I think that's why it drives Leeds fans to think that he is a poor player, including myself. But I think the justification for Liam Cooper is there is a player in there. There's definitely a player in there. I think if you cut out the silly mistakes and if you get these the guy mentally ready, which it looks like Bielsa's done, especially from that game, then Liam Cooper could be a real asset for Leeds United this season. So I'd give Liam Cooper a 9. Gaetano Berardi, just Mr. Reliable. You know exactly what you're going to get from him. Superb. The only thing that worries me is slightly with Berardi is his aggression. But you know, you've got a 5'9" guy playing against Benik Afobe, who stands at 6'2", and he was managed to keep him relatively quiet throughout the entire game. So well done, Gaetano Berardi. Give him 8 out of 10. Barry Douglas is the difference. Barry Douglas played left back in the 4-1-4-1 formation, and I thought the formation in particular would restrict someone like Barry Douglas from getting forward, but he didn't. It did the complete opposite. He was allowed a free roaming role. Every time the ball was with Ayling on the right, Barry Douglas would advance into that box, into the penalty area, and vice versa as well with Ayling. You'd always see him on the edge of the box. And I think that's because Leeds know the quality that we have on the wings now, so we need to get as many people in the box as possible, and I thought we did that very well. But Barry Douglas gives a complete different dynamic to that Leeds United side. He is a left-footed player at right back, which we've not had consistently for seasons and seasons. But what he does is he brings a beautiful balance to that back line. I do think he's, over a short period, he's got a lot of pace. I really do think that. On my Twitter page, there was people saying that he hasn't got a lot of pace, and I think they misunderstood what I said. I said he's got a very quick burst of pace over a short bit of time, really. And he showed that at the weekend. He beat a few men, then cross it in, or he'd startle down the wing, and then Alioski would revert back into the left back role. But I thought that worked really well, a really good balance to Leeds United on that left hand side. So I'd give Barry Douglas a 9, and I thought the difference, if I just touch on Barry Douglas as well, I alluded to it in the Periscope, that you saw that championship winning mentality with Barry Douglas, because when he gave the ball away, and when he gave away sort of a really soft penalty, which in my eyes wasn't a penalty, it was just Tom Ince being Tom Ince, Barry Douglas brushed himself off, got round, didn't complain to the referee, walked back, because he knew that he'd redeem himself. And he knew if he had a chance to cross it in, if he knew he had a chance with a free kick, then he would deliver for Leeds United. And I thought that was a really interesting piece of information that I took from that game. Seconds later, he whips one of the best balls in I've ever seen for Liam Cooper to just nod it in, a simple header. So that's the quality you get from Barry Douglas. And moving further up into the field, KP, Calvin Phillips, I thought he did really well. Interestingly enough, not a lot of pressure on him. You didn't see a lot from Atobo or Joe Allen when Phillips had the ball. But positively, I thought when he was doing it in tight areas, I thought he was superb. He was able to what I noticed about Calvin Phillips and what I noticed about him at Las Palmas is actually he's matured. I don't know if that's a Bielsa thing. He looks like he's got a lot more confidence on the ball. He receives it on the back foot and he plays out straight away. It's a very two-touch mentality, which in this league and in that position you have to have. So Calvin Phillips, aside from the rash challenges which he has to get out of his game, I'd give him an 8 out of 10. Moving into the middle of midfield, and Matthias Klick, who man of the match for me, ran the game. Burnley away last season, when we were in I don't know if it was the League Cup, I'm not sure, but he was fundamental. He was a superb player that day, and there was a lot of negativity surrounding Matthias Klick. But what I think people fail to understand is, look where we are now. Look at the confidence and ideologies and quality in the Leeds side with the same players, and then look at what we were under, let's say, TC, Thomas Christensen, when Leeds, there was a lot of players who weren't confident in him, a lot of players who, I don't know if TC had said that you're leaving the club or whatever, Matthias Klick, and obviously that's not going to do wonders for a player, because you've seen what can happen to a player when confidence is instilled in them. We beat a Premiership team 3-1 and outplayed them on the opening day, and you can see what confidence can do to another player in a different sense when, let's say, you lose 4-0 at home to Cardiff. But Klick on another level he was superb, and the confidence in the lad hopefully will play out throughout the season. You've got to remember, you've got a big shoes to fill there in Forshaw, and I thought he went beyond that. Actually, if he performs like that for the rest of the season, you'd have him over Forshaw in that position. That's the quality he possessed. Moving into the attacking lineup, we had Samu Saiz. Saiz was once again back to his best, which was lovely to see. He wasn't in pre-season, but when you get that man in and around the box, there was a cluster of 3, which was very interesting, with Samu Saiz, Pablo Hernandez and Klick, and that was constant throughout the game. They were always very close and intertwined together. They were always near and around the box, and I thought it worked really well. Anytime Saeed's had the ball, he had an option, which he didn't have much of last season. You'd see him kind of spraying the ball into open spaces where there were no players, and I thought he was a completely different player yesterday, even better than last season, so I'd give him a 10. Also, if I'm missing out the player ratings here, it's just because it's a live stream. I'm not focusing too much on the player ratings. I just kind of want to get out what I think about how each individual player has improved and how they're doing so well. Pablo Hernandez on the right hand side once again. I mean, you've got to say, what more can this guy do? He's just 35 years of age, and he just keeps getting better and better. He's like fine wine. So I'd give him an 8 out of 10, just consistent, brilliant. There's a couple of balls in which maybe were a bit off kilt, but you'll let him off for the first game of the season. That's been super critical. Kemar Roofe, once again, you can see where Bielsa has completely changed his play, his style of play. He's able to now, he seems to be running in different patterns, like diagonally, coming deep to receive the ball, going beyond the furthest man, even if they're a big man. He runs in the channels a hell of a lot, which I saw the other night. He was doing the channel work a hell of a lot, and I think when you're a small player like Kemar Roofe and you're playing up front, I think that's a really good way of being. You see Aguero doing it a hell of a lot for Manchester City, and Jesus. You see them, instead of the ball being over the top and coming deep, a different option is to run in the channels, and that's what was happening continuously. You'd see Barry Douglas, Click and Saeed all playing inside the channels because they knew that's where Roofe was going to be. The interesting thing about that is I don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of games, because it's going to be difficult for Patrick Bamford to get back in. And the reason I say that is because you've got Derby, who are quite a similar team to Stoke. They possess a lot of quality. There's a lot of physicality in there. But would a Bamford be appropriate for that? I'm not too sure. Would Kemar Roofe be better? I possibly think so. I think he could give the defenders a run around, and the players around Kemar Roofe would benefit from that as well, as you saw at the weekend. So I'd give Roofe a 9 out of 10, did really well. Alioski, I alluded to this on the Periscope, and there's been a definite change with Bielsa here. If you guys noticed it, then, you know, comment down below. But there was a real change in how Alioski played. Last season, he was playing on the right-hand side, and he would cut in and fire away, and that's pretty much all we thought Alioski's game was. Worked back, great work ethic, but when I saw his name on the team sheet, I thought, God, here we go. He doesn't possess as much quality in the final third, but what I thought when he was on that left-hand side was because Barry Douglas was there, giving that left side of midfield a balance. He was also able to kind of have that option, so Barry Douglas would run beyond him, which we didn't really have with Anita and Dallas at left-back, because they'd have to cut inside naturally, being right-footers. So, and what he would do as well is, instead of beating him out, and this is where I think he is 100% the player we need in that position, he would get the ball out of his feet immediately, and instead of taking a player on, because we know that's not his strongest asset, he would get the ball out and whip it in, get the ball out and whip it in, and he would do that every single time because he's got a wand of a left foot. And I think that is definitely a Bielsa influence. You can see that Bielsa knows that he's not maybe the quickest, maybe the most versatile in that position, so to utilise his skill set, he gets the ball and whips it in. And the Leeds players seem to have numerous players in the box at the weekend. At one point there was about 4 or 5 players in the box, which in comparison to last season, when you just see Ekiban just stood there by himself trying to win headers, there's a complete change, and you can tell Bielsa's done his homework. So yeah, Bielsa for me, 10 out of 10. I loved the fact that he didn't overreact and get so passionate. I think that instills a work ethos in the team, because I think that the team will then respond to that by giving even more hard work and effort, because they think, oh, I need to impress the manager here, I need to carry on performing at this level, and then maybe he'll give me a pat on the back. And you could see when even Saeed came off, he just straight past him, didn't say anything to him, which was really good to see in my opinion. And you could see he was kind of buzzing at the end, and the whole stuff about him coming on at the end with the pre-match and the post-match and making a fool of himself. I mean, no one batted an eyelid. Mauricio Pochettino did it at Tottenham, but because it's Leeds United's Marcelo Bielsa, it's the funniest thing ever. I thought it was very impressive. I thought he's coming on, he's trying his best, and good things for the future. And I'm really proud of Leeds United at the weekend, and hopefully we can move on to better things. So yeah, guys, if you've enjoyed this video, I'm going to probably be doing a lot more periscoping, because the first one did quite well. So check out my Twitter page, Ramblings of the South Stand. And All Leeds TV. I appreciate this YouTube video and you giving me an opportunity to be on this channel, and matched on together. See you guys soon.